Hey guys, welcome back to another video. First, I want to give a huge congratulations to Anthony Riley for being voted as 2019's Dumb of the Year. We all knew you could do it, Anthony, and we're all so very proud of you for finally winning something in your life. Let's be honest though, after the content you put out in 2019, it was pretty much a shoo-in, but I hope you've taken the time to really revel in the victory because honestly, I doubt you'll ever win anything ever again. Anywho, today we're taking a look at the newest video from the new and improved Orphan Red. She's got a new name, she's only putting one picture of herself in her thumbnails, and this video isn't the same old flat earth fake science nonsense. It's more of an explanation video of why they choose to be wrong than an illustration of how they're wrong. But I'll be honest, I do agree with a few of the points she makes, and we'll get into that in a moment. So let's roll the tape.
Let's talk about truth, belief, knowledge, and the flat earth theory.
Wait a minute, I thought theories were bad.
One of the most important aspects of the flat earth theory is that it focuses us to ask ourselves, how do we distinguish what we know to be true from what we simply believe to be true?
Most of us look at evidence and base our conclusions on it. We don't start with conclusions and then cherry pick little teeny tiny little holes in that evidence, blow them out of proportion, intentionally misconstrue the reason those holes exist, and then make countless videos about how that evidence is 100% fake and everyone is lying to us. People usually do this for money or notoriety.
Some people turn to science for help with this, but real science can never offer us truth. The best science can ever say is, here's a useful theory that seems to describe the elements of our world in a way in which it's useful to us for our current purposes.
Yeah, you know, like cell phones and GPS and vaccines and the device you're currently watching this video on. You know, dumb stuff like that. Science is a way of trying to understand the world around us. Remember the evidence thing that I mentioned before? That's the basis of science. We see things, wonder how or why they work the way they do, and then do experiments or make observations about those things and come to the most logical conclusion as to why and how. Sometimes those conclusions are wrong. I mean, most people used to think the earth was flat, and then smart people had ideas that proved to be true through observation and experimentation. Thankfully, nowadays, most of us have moved past those archaic beliefs, and those observations and experiments are used to create everyday things, like using theories of motion and gravity to put satellites in orbit, to carry some of our internet and TV signals, by hopefully in the future, getting rid of diseases through gene editing through using CRISPR, and countless other ways that science improves our lives. Science may not say things are 100% fact all the time, but those quote-unquote theories are good enough in most cases, and when they're not, scientists change their minds. Science doesn't always give 100% concrete facts because it's an ever-evolving process. We're all still learning. The difference between real science and flat earth science is that real scientists are actually trying to learn. Flat earthers already know everything and aren't looking for truth.
The conclusions drawn aren't truth. They're simply our best understanding of our reality based on the limited information we have available to us in this particular moment. Science can look at swans and collect data about their color. The collected data can be analyzed, put through a statistical analysis software, interpreted through ideas about colors and feathers, and from this, we can draw the conclusion that all swans are white. We can replicate this study and come to the same conclusion again and again. And then some lunatic from the lunatic fringe might come along claiming to have seen a black swan, but he's crazy. Black swan conspiracy theorist. So science, as it's practiced today, will ignore him or simply mock him and ridicule him because we don't have the time for a meeting of the Black Swan Society.
We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society.
We don't have the time for a meeting of the Black Swan Society.
We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society.
The funny thing about this black swan example is that until they were discovered, no one knew if they existed, but once they were discovered, they were taxonomically classified and studied, just like everything else. And honest people who have never seen one would most likely have to assume that their existence is possible, if they're being honest. Shit, purple swans with flaming orange wings are possible, and in this day and age, no one would be ridiculed for saying that the possibility exists because other birds have similar color patterns. But that's not what Flat Earth does. Flat Earth is the equivalent of saying, white swans are all fake, and anyone who says that they're not fake are brainwashed fools. But swans with huge muscular tattooed arms that drive monster trucks while smoking cigars rolled from the finest pelts of luscious woodland creatures, singing songs from their homeland also exist. And their basis for claiming this is because one of them heard some heavy metal playing out in the woods one time when they were hiking, and they just assumed that that's where it was coming from. It's ridiculous. And I mean, who'd be rolling those cigars anyway?
Until someone with influence, prestige, power, and accreditation within the science community steps forward and says, most swans are white, but some are black.
And they'd show evidence of their existence.
The flat earth theory is very much about insisting that science can be done by individual citizens, that our voices are legitimate. It's about the freedom of speech required at the individual level for you to be able to say, I know that some swans are black. I've seen a black swan.
Yeah, and you can put this whole argument to bed if you just come up with one photo of the flat earth.
When scientism, as a religion of the state, is insisting that all swans are white and your neighbors are mocking you and ridiculing you for saying that some swans are black.
We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society.
Some swans are black.
We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society.
It's about freedom of thought, to establish for ourselves what we believe to be true, rather than having to accept what other rulers tell us is true, or what the high priests of scientism tells us is true when their proclamations are based on experiments that we can't verify, much less replicate. We can't build particle colliders in our basement and test for ourselves that the Higgs boson really does exist.
That's why you have to put your solipsism aside and actually trust that some people in mainstream science aren't lying to you. You can believe whatever you want to believe. It just might limit the ridicule you receive if you actually base those beliefs on evidence. No one cares if you believe in monster truck driving, cigar smoking swans. But when that distrust of everyone who actually went to decades of school to learn about something and have studied things their entire lives crosses over to other aspects of science, like saying that vaccines don't work and that no one should get them because they're a huge government conspiracy to kill us all or give our kids autism, that's when it actually starts affecting other people. No one gives a crap if you want to be a paranoid conspiratard.
It's about the power to dissent, to refuse to conform to groupthink, to refuse to pretend to believe in what the group and its leaders have decided we should believe, what we must believe in order to be respected as equals in our societies.
Now, this is something I agree with. I don't think anyone should be forced to think any particular way if they don't want to. Thought policing is something that I personally believe is tearing at the fabric of our society, and it's going to get much worse. As much as I don't like racists or political ideologues, people can be racist. They can be statists. They can be the most vehement liberals and conservatives if they want. The freedom to hate people or love them based on their skin color or accent or religion or nation of origin is something that I think all people should have. It's when those beliefs infringe on the rights of others to live the way they want to that I have a problem with it. I'm a live and let live kind of guy. I don't care if two people of the same sex get married. I don't care if you want to shoot guns or worship at the feet of any particular politician. I don't care if you want to drink your liver into cirrhosis or shoot heroin into your arms until you have no veins left. I don't care.
The world was promised a bright future where we would have colonies on the moon, flying cars, holidays in space, and affordable housing for everyone, and glass and metal towers reaching up to the skies. Instead, Many people find themselves in a dystopic condition today, drowning in debt from a 30-year mortgage for houses not much improved since the 50s, or tiny apartments in glossy high-rises that cost them 50% of their income in rent and no hope of ever owning their home. Adults and taxpayers are saddled with debts and student loans that, well, didn't lead them to a stable, well-paid salaried job that they had envisioned. In medicine, the hoped-for panaceas of what we feel science promised us have yet to be found by a medical establishment that our government can no longer afford to fund. And yet, our institutions keep promising us, give us more taxpayer money in another 10 years, we'll fly you to the moon for a well-deserved adventure. But at the end of the 10 years, another 10 years are found to be needed. And in the 67 years since the Americans have landed on the moon, supposedly, we have yet to send anyone back for a holiday.
Okay, so that was a big segment with a lot to cover. First, housing has improved immensely since the 1950s. It's also gotten a lot more expensive. I have a real estate license, and one thing I tell my clients when they complain about the cost of housing is that the reason prices are so high is because people buy houses at these prices. It's a market, and it's susceptible to market fluctuations. When people spend more on houses in a particular area, the prices of the rest of the houses go up. Apartments, for example, are expensive. That's why I tell people that buying a house is much better in the long run than paying off someone else's mortgage. The higher education system has been stuffed to the gills with fluff. Stupid degrees that in the vast majority of cases don't pay the bills, like women's studies, for example. The problem is, people get lied to about the education that they're going to receive, and they get talked into taking loans out for that education. And when they graduate, they're saddled with a bunch of debt that can't feasibly be paid off with the job that their subpar education provides. That is, if they're even lucky enough to get hired in their field of study. Isn't it interesting that 18-year-olds can be considered responsible enough to enter into debt contracts worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, but they can't drink a beer? Anyway, there are many reasons that the cost of American education in particular has skyrocketed, and I'm not going to get into it that deeply. But government-subsidized loans and private colleges are a big culprit. This brings me back to the comment about worshiping at the feet of politicians. A lot of them don't care about the failing education systems in this country and in other countries, obviously. But voting the same people in time and time again doesn't fix it either. All right, enough of the political stuff. That's for another video if the audience wants it. Now, I know math is lies from the devil. But do me a favor, take 2020 and subtract 1969 from it. What do you get? Do you get 67? Mensa, huh?
Scientism isn't meeting the needs of human beings, and the results of scientism isn't improving society for the average person. Real science can improve our lives by helping us to make a sense of our world and a place within it. But blind faith, devotion to science as the source of all truth and the only source of knowledge about the world fails to provide us with truth, because the underlying science is always providing new theories. Truth is always changing. More importantly, it's failing to provide us with a sense of meaning that makes the suffering of life bearable. Whereas Flat Earth theory offers us access to deeper meaning, deeper truths. Flat Earth is about freedom of speech, freedom of thought, and the freedom to dissent from what our rulers decide to impose upon us as truth for today.
Real science does improve our lives. And yes, science is always providing new theories because, unlike flat earthers, scientists are actually trying to learn new things and figure things out. Science doesn't care how you feel about your place in the world. That's up to you. If you need help with that, I suggest going to church. There's no science or pesky facts or evidence there. Only beliefs. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. This month, I'm going to be featured on Mr. Sensible's channel. He's going out of town, and Needed some creators to fill in for him while he's gone, so I made a video on him covering Nathan Thompson. So be on the lookout for that on his channel. It's a great channel. If you haven't watched any of his stuff, you should definitely check him out and give him a subscribe as well. And if you like my content and you'd like to see more of it, give the video a like and the channel a subscribe. And make sure to come back next time. And until then, as always, have a good day.